Now that we know the goal of scaffolded learning is to build upon a learner's foundational knowledge so that they can move towards a deeper level of understanding, the next step is to really look at the different tools to apply scaffolded learning during a tutoring session. So the first tool I recommend is to break tasks or problems into smaller steps. Now you may be thinking, why should we do this? Well, at the Note Yao Center, we often find students come in totally overwhelmed with the magnitude of their assignment or task that they've been asked to perform. So one way to help students approach a challenging task is assisting them to break that task into smaller problems or smaller parts. So let's take for an example an essay. Some student might come in just looking at the essay as a whole and be totally overwhelmed. We can help them break that essay into manageable pieces. So we might, instead of focusing on the whole essay, look at maybe the thesis as one kind of aspect of the essay, and then we might look at topic sentences, and then we might look at the flow of an essay. So just looking at 3 manageable pieces rather than the entire essay as a whole. Another tool is to ask students to verbalize the learning process. Now, to do this, you might say something like, hey, based on what we've covered in our tutoring session today, how would you teach me how to write a thesis statement? Obviously, you should give the student some time to think about this, but ideally, the student would be able to respond by saying something like, okay, so step 1 is to, focus on your topic. Now, if the student is maybe a kinesthetic or visual learner, you might even have them write on the whiteboard to help them codify their learning process. Another tool to use is cooperative learning. Now you might be thinking, okay, so what on earth is cooperative learning? Well, it's actually utilizing students' peers. Now this is of course ideal in a group tutoring session, but it really is allowing you to get students to help each other out and learn materials together. Another tool I recommend is to model a basic process. So there's a lot of strong research to support having students examine examples and then answer questions. So you could give a student an example maybe of a graph, and you could talk about X and Y, and have them kind of review the example and then give them a different similar example to practice on. So that modeling is a pretty cool process. Another tool is to ask the student deep explanatory questions. Again, there's a wealth of research supporting the use of deep questions. Asking direct questions also helps to gauge student learning. So, an example might be, what are the causes and consequences of the New Zealand wars? So, we think about New Zealand, and we ask the student to really kind of consider that. Students are 4 times more likely to retain information when they're posed with deep explanatory questions, so I think it's a great tool. Another neat tool is to give specific and descriptive feedback. Feedback helps students learn by identifying a specific area where they can improve their performance. So effective feedback communicates what a student has achieved and what they need to work on next. And through building on previous achievement feedback, it really reinforces a growth mindset by highlighting ongoing developments. So tutors should focus on specific tasks. Another really neat tool to think about is also offering different tips, strategies, just things based on your own experience, aka share your helpful advice. So offering students tips and strategies based on your own experiences is, I think, key. We've had those experiences where you've struggled, you've gone through a challenging class, but you've made it out successful. So we want to share